The alarm on Piper's phone shrieked like a banshee, but it wasn't a wake-up call. It was a crisis alert, labeled simply, Sterling arrival, 45 minutes, Piper Barnes, a highly strung PR executive whose life revolved around color-coded spreadsheets. Bolted upright in bed, heart hammering against her ribs like a trapped bird. The Sterling account was the anchor of her entire career, a multi-million-dollar contract with Mrs. Clarissa Sterling, a philanthropist known equally for her enormous fortune and her terrifying, unyielding obsession with dogs. Yesterday, a last-minute email had arrived. Mrs. Sterling insists on meeting the team in a casual, pet-friendly home environment before signing. Bring your best Fluffy's friend. Piper, a proud owner of 3 low-maintenance succulents and an allergy to almost everything with fur, did not have a fluffiest friend. Her colleague, Chloe, who was also vying for the lead on the Sterling account, did have a perfect, hypoallergenic miniature poodle named Marquise. Panic clawed at Piper's throat. If she showed up dogless or worse, with a borrowed subpar canine, the contract was gone, and so was her promotion. She grabbed her keys, threw on the nearest presentable blazer, and burst out her apartment door, leaving her pristine, minimalist life behind in pursuit of emergency companionship. The nearest place, according to a frantic 5-second Google search, was the Leash Life Rescue and Rehabilitation Center, just 3 miles away. It sounded suitably noble and pet-friendly, exactly the kind of facade she needed to erect for the next 4 hours of high-stakes corporate theater. She arrived at the center 5 minutes later, peeling out of her parking spot with a screech that probably violated 3 local ordinances and the tranquility of the neighborhood. The air inside smelled of disinfectant, fresh hay, and a distinct, overwhelming aroma of wet dog. She spotted him immediately, a man leaning over a cage, meticulously cleaning a water bowl with the focus of a surgeon performing a triple bypass. He was tall, impossibly handsome, in a plain gray t-shirt, and wore glasses that made him look unfairly intelligent and incredibly serious. This was Leo Maxwell, the center's manager, and judging by the intensity in his eyes, he took the welfare of every single animal under his care extremely personally. Piper approached the counter, trying to project competence instead of the sheer, terrifying desperation she felt. "Good morning. I need a puppy, immediately." Leo looked up slowly, his expression shifting from focused care to immediate, profound skepticism. "We don't do immediately. We do applications, home checks, and background reviews. Usually over several weeks, I understand. But this is an emergency," Piper pleaded. Leaning across the desk, her carefully constructed professionalism cracking around the edges. "Is there a fire? Is there a medical crisis?" Leo asked, crossing his arms unimpressed. "Worse," Piper whispered dramatically. "It's a 7-figure PR contract, and the fate of my entire professional existence hangs on a perfect, fluffy, canine proxy." Leo sighed, clearly having dealt with dog for-hire requests before, but rarely with this level of theatrical urgency. "We are not a prop rental agency, Ms. Barnes. Piper Barnes. And I will pay whatever the adoption fee is, double, triple. I'm a good person, I swear. I just need a dog for 4 hours of corporate espionage." Leo ran a hand through his dark, slightly messy hair. "The only dog I have ready right now is not suitable for corporate espionage, or frankly for anything that requires sitting still." He gestured toward a small pen in the corner. "That," he said with a groan, "is Chaos." Chaos was a small, fluffy, mixed-breed terror who, at that very moment, was attempting to chew the lock off his gate and simultaneously barking at his own reflection in the metal bowl. Lamize, he looked like a miniature dust bunny that had been possessed by the spirit of a professional wrestler. Piper's heart sank. She needed a serene, elegant creature. Chaos looked like he needed an exorcism and a structural engineer. "He's spirited," Piper admitted weakly, "but I can manage. I'm a strong leader. I manage dozens of campaigns a year." "You manage campaigns, Ms. Barnes? You don't manage teeth, claws, and a deeply ingrained disregard for authority," Leo countered. He explained that Chaos had already been returned 3 times because he could dismantle furniture faster than a demolition crew, and seemed to communicate only via high-pitched screams of joy or fury. Piper checked her watch. 30 minutes remaining. The image of Chloe and her perfect Marquise sealed her resolve. "Please, Leo, I'm begging you. If I lose this contract, I'm back to managing regional tax software launches." Leo saw the genuine, raw panic in her eyes, a reflection of the high stakes that had nothing to do with the dog, but everything to do with her future. He was a professional, but he wasn't heartless. Fine, he conceded, rubbing the bridge of his nose. But I have conditions. Non-negotiable. Piper leaned forward, ready to sign over her firstborn or her remaining succulents. Condition 1. I come with him, Leo stated simply. I am his emotional support human. I need to be present to monitor his anxiety levels, which are frankly off the charts. You come to the meeting. Piper was stunned. This added an entirely new, unplanned layer of chaos to her scheme. Condition 2. No misleading, Mrs. Sterling. You tell her the truth that you're fostering him as a commitment to rescue. I'll handle the training part. Condition 3. You cover my hourly rate as a professional dog sitter for the entire 4 hours, he finished, his face utterly serious. Piper didn't hesitate. Done, agreed. Let's go save my career and maybe my soul. 10 minutes later, Leo was sitting shotgun in Piper's sleek, expensive sedan, holding a furiously wriggling Chaos swaddled in a clean white towel. He hates confinement, Leo observed calmly, as Chaos managed to wiggle an entire leg free and swipe at the dashboard. I gathered, Piper muttered, steering expertly while mentally rehearsing her opening pitch for the Sterling account. They arrived at Piper's perfectly arranged apartment complex just as Mrs. Sterling's black limousine pulled up at the curb. Time was up. Remember the plan? Leo instructed, adjusting his glasses. Polite, firm, and distracting. The meeting was set up in Piper's living room, which she had staged to look like a spread from an Architectural Digest magazine, minimalist, pristine, and entirely dog-inappropriate. Mrs. Sterling, a formidable woman in a scarlet suit and a diamond-encrusted dog collar around her neck, entered first, assessing the room with a laser-like focus. My dear Piper, Mrs. Sterling boomed, her voice surprisingly deep. I love the clean lines, but where is your beautiful creature? Leo appeared from the kitchen, holding Chaos securely, who was momentarily stunned into silence by the sheer opulence of his surroundings. Mrs. Sterling, this is Leo, me, behavioral consultant, and this is Chaos, Piper announced, forcing a cheerful smile. We just started fostering him from the leash life. Mrs. Sterling's eyes narrowed, but not in judgment. There was a flicker of something akin to admiration for the rescue aspect. Mutt. I adore mutts. Show me his spirit. Just as Leo set Chaos down on the polished hardwood floor, the tiny puppy spotted Chloe's perfectly groomed Marquise, who was tied patiently to a chair leg. Chaos, living up to his name with spectacular speed, launched himself across the room. The ensuing scene was a beautiful, terrifying ballet of fur and pure destruction. Chaos bypassed Marquise entirely and went straight for the one thing Piper had forgotten to secure, the presentation board containing the Sterling campaign's core strategy. He snatched a corner of the poster board in his surprisingly strong jaws and proceeded to shred it into confetti while doing a frantic victory lap. No, Chaos. Drop it. Bad dog. Piper shrieked, instantly abandoning all traces of her corporate calm. Leo was faster, diving across the pristine white rug with the grace of a professional athlete and wrestling the campaign board fragment from the puppy's grip. They collided in a heap on the floor, Piper's blazer riding up, revealing a flash of her silk blouse, and Leo's glasses falling off his nose. Mrs. Sterling did not flinch. She simply watched the spectacular failure of controlled professionalism with an air of detached interest. He has fire, she observed dryly, as Chaos then darted behind a velvet curtain and began gnawing on the tasseled pull cord. Piper scrambled up, utterly defeated, but Leo grabbed her arm gently. Stick to the plan, distracting. He quickly scooped up Chaos, who was now licking Leo's face with wild, frantic affection, and turned to the client. He's very high energy, Mrs. Sterling. It takes a lot of time and commitment, Leo said, voice calm, a comforting contrast to the mayhem. Mrs. Sterling surprisingly smiled, a real, genuine, terrifying smile. Commitment is good, Mr. Maxwell. I like commitment. But tell me, Piper, why the sudden rescue? The question was too direct, too real. Piper had to admit the truth, the desperation that lay beneath the corporate veneer. I need this job, Mrs. Sterling. Not just the money, Piper confessed, looking Leo straight in the eye before turning back to the client. My father always told me I was too flighty, too chaotic to manage anything serious. This contract, this promotion, it's about proving I can handle the responsibility. I thought having the perfect dog would help. The room was suddenly silent, the corporate mask completely off. It was just one vulnerable woman talking to another. Leo watched Piper, seeing past the power suit and the ambition to the core of insecurity that drove her. He realized her chaos wasn't destructive, it was passionate. And chaos? Leo interjected, stepping slightly forward. Chaos is not chaotic because he's bad. He's chaotic because he hasn't found the right handler, the right person who can handle his level of passion. Mrs. Sterling looked from Piper to Leo, and then down at the puppy, who was now attempting to eat one of her diamond collar tags. So, you are two passionate, chaotic people trying to manage a hyper-passionate, chaotic dog for a purely opportunistic reason, Mrs. Sterling summarized. Piper nodded, defeated. Yes, Mrs. Sterling, that is the truth. It's the whole messy truth. Just then, Chloe, seeing her chance, marched forward with Marquise, who gave a tiny, perfect bow. I apologize for the distraction, Mrs. Sterling. Marquise is trained to retrieve objects. You could have avoided the mess entirely, Chloe said smugly. Mrs. Sterling simply waved a dismissive hand. Perfectly behaved dogs are boring, Miss Chloe. Predictable. But predictability is the cornerstone of brand management, Chloe protested, her voice rising in confusion. I don't hire brand managers, dear. I hire risk-takers, Mrs. Sterling said, her eyes twinkling. She gestured toward the shredded presentation board fragments littering the carpet. Anyone can sell me a pristine, clean document, but only a team that can manage a genuine, unexpected disaster. While admitting their true motives is worth my time and my money. Ms. Barnes, Mrs. Sterling announced, standing up to her full, imposing height, you get the contract, Mr. Maxwell. You get the distinct honor of continuing Chaos's behavioral therapy. Chloe stood frozen in shock, while Piper stared at Leo, their eyes wide with disbelief and relief. The crisis was over. The contract was signed. The hijinks had inexplicably worked. Later that evening, after Mrs. Sterling and Chloe had departed, leaving Piper's apartment in a state of controlled anarchy, Leo was gathering up his things. Chaos, exhausted by his epic performance, was curled up fast asleep in a clean dog bed Piper had hastily ordered during a break. Yeah. I owe you everything, Leo, Piper said, leaning against the doorframe, suddenly nervous despite the day's victory. You owe me my hourly rate, Leo corrected, but the usual sternness was missing from his voice. And a new presentation board, I mean it. You saved me. And you didn't even yell at me when I called him a canine proxy. You were honest, Leo murmured, looking at her with an intensity that had nothing to do with dog training. I like your chaos, Piper. It's compelling. The forced proximity of the day had broken down all their professional walls, revealing the soft, complementary sides beneath. Piper, the meticulous executive, had desperately needed Leo's calm, steady, grounded presence in the face of the ultimate meltdown. Leo, the hyper-focused caretaker, needed Piper's reckless passion to remind him that life isn't always about following the rules sometimes. You need to dive across a rug to save a career. He picked up his bag. I should go. Chaos will be fine tonight. He's passed out. Wait, Piper said softly, taking a step toward him. What about the official home check for Chaos? I haven't passed the final test yet. Leo paused at the door, a slow, genuine smile finally spreading across his face. The initial check was today, Piper. You survived the CEO, a rival, and a puppy that destroyed your life's work. You passed with flying colors, and the long-term plan for Chaos? She asked, her eyes searching his, the question no longer about the dog. The long-term plan, Leo replied, stepping closer, requires a dedicated two-person team, full-time supervision, and maybe a lot of shared late-night pizza to plan the next phase. Thank you for tuning into this story of unexpected chaos and finding love where you least expect it. If this hijinks romance gave you a laugh, be sure to comment, like, share, and subscribe to Storycraft Studio for more feel-good dramas.